Good evening and welcome to tonight's regional news. Jamaica on Wednesday confirmed 22 cases of the highly contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus pandemic and promised to keep the population updated on the situation. I quote, "We have received 40 results from the 60 samples sent to the Trinidad-based Caribbean Public Health Agency. 22 are positive for the Delta variant," end of quote, said Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton in a statement. He said the epidemiology and laboratory teams were now doing further analysis to see if there is any particular significant factor related to the 22 identified, adding that the public will be kept updated. In Trinidad, despite the reservations by some parents about having their children vaccinated at this time, Education Minister Dr. Nian Gatsby-Dolly said both vaccinated and unvaccinated students will be welcomed back into schools next month. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has said that students in Forms 4 and 5 and 6 will be allowed to resume physical classes when the new academic term 2021-2022 begins on September 6. Asked on Thursday how the Ministry of Education intends to address the issue of vaccinated students mixing with the unvaccinated, the minister said that there will be no discrimination of either category. She said, I quote, "At this time, in every office building, family, taxi in Trinidad and Tobago, the vaccinated and unvaccinated coexist. There is no requirement for separation. Schools are not expected to operate any differently," end of quote. The ministry said on the first day of the drive on Thursday, 3,702 people received their first dose of the World Health Organization-approved Pfizer vaccine. We now tell you that Bahamians will go to the polls on September 16, 8 months before a general election is constitutionally due, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced Thursday morning. Minnis stressed that whoever emerges victorious will have to make key decisions on the way forward in the COVID-19 pandemic. Elections are not constitutionally due until May 2022, which would be 5 years after Minnis's Free National Movement defeated the Progressive Liberal Party in the last polls, winning 35 of the 39 seats in Parliament. The Prime Minister said the election was coming amid, I quote, "the worst public health crisis in our modern history," end of quote, referring to the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected the entire globe and resulted in the deaths of millions. Minnis told residents that their next government will have key decisions to make in enacting post-pandemic public health legislation, continued economic growth, and rebuilding and renewing a post-COVID Bahamas. Minnis urged political parties to conduct their campaigns in keeping with public health guidelines to ensure there is no further spread of COVID-19. And finally, only fully vaccinated University of the West Indies UWI St. Augustine campus students will be allowed accommodation at the campus's 5 halls of residence, the UWI said on Thursday. The UWI added, however, that management has decided it will not be mandating staff and students to be vaccinated, I quote, "until such a time as the matter is legislated or pronounced upon by the courts," end of quote. UWI St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago Vice Chancellor and campus principal Professor Brian Copeland informed students and staff of the decision in an email on Thursday, in which he announced plans for academic year 2021-2022, including the September 2021 semester, which is to begin on August 29. I quote, "Notwithstanding, as part of the campus management's duty to ensure the safety, health, and welfare at work of all of its employees and to provide and maintain a workplace that is free of known hazards, the principal encouraged all staff and students to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, end of quote, the UWI said in a media release. In the email to staff and students, Copeland encouraged vaccination, adding that it is the, I quote, "swiftest path to a full return to campus," end of quote. Online classes will continue. That was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for joining.